We have a show to do today.
The whole new acronym thing drives me effing bananas. Can we call him by his name?
Felger and Mazz on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
Okay, so you think there were too many guys here and someone's got to go?
Yeah, I think that it would be hard-pressed to find a fan that disagrees with that. I think especially when the explanation after, Roman got the day off after the day off, and you ask, why is that? He's supposed to be the best player on the team. He's 21 years old. Why would he have a day off after the day off? And if the response is, well, that's the outfield rotation, well, I think the outfield rotation sucks. I think that that's a very dumb thing if, we're sticking to a plan that has the best player on the team sitting on the bench the day after an off day.
Who do you blame for that, Jared?
Breslow. Yeah, I mean, that had to have been addressed. And I'm not saying that he should have rushed into a deal where, it's unequivocally the Red Sox are the losers of that trade, not telling him how to do his job. But there had to be a way to fix this roster crunch. And I know that they tried, even into spring training, they tried to pull off the Isak Paredes trade. I would feel a little bit more strongly about it if the Astros ended up trading Paredes somewhere else. He's still with the Astros. It takes two to tango. I'm not saying they didn't try, but at some point you have to get creative and figure it out.
Hi, we're brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, FM dial in Boston, simulcast, beams across New England, and the country on NBC Sports Boston. That's presented by Supercuts, Real Smart Hair. Thought we'd start off with some Red Sox and play some Jared Carrabis cuts from last night's baseball hour with Mazz. Every Wednesday you can catch Carrabis on with Tony here on the 6 to 7 hour, the baseball hour here on Felger and Mazz. And so I thought we'd start with a couple of items related to that outfield. But that cut, just that piece before I get into some of the individual outfielders he was referencing there, that piece in and of itself, Mazz, is that your biggest second guess for Craig Breslow with this season?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I mean, along with the right-handed bat, but I think they go hand in hand. And when I say that, I mean, they have had a glut of left-handed hitting outfielders for a while now. And I would tell you that the prospects they've had in the system, save for Craig Campbell, all left-handed. Marcelo Meyer's an infielder, but he bats left-handed. Kyle Teal, when they had him, a catcher, bats left-handed. Casas, who's not here, bats left-handed. Abreu, Duran, Yoshida, Roman Anthony. They got all these lefties. They've needed a right-handed bat in the system for a long time. And they came into the season. And Mike, we thought Duran or someone from that group would be traded after 2024, not just 2025. So they had the problems a year ago on the roster when they shouldn't have had it then, and they still have it. So I look at that and say, why are you holding on to all these guys?
Why are they holding on to all these guys?
Okay, so I'll give you my theory. My theory is that Duran is the guy they wanted to move, but after he had the 2024 that he did. And we looked this up one of the nights, I can't remember who, I think it was Milliken who said, the team said they were trying to trade a 7-WAR player, meaning Duran, and get a 7-WAR player back. And teams viewed Duran as a 4-WAR player. Okay, now I'm giving you the modern metrics. But the year that he had in 2024, Duran's WAR in some sites.
It was like 9.
Was 9. Correct. So I think the Red Sox after that season said, we're not going to trade this guy. If he's going to play like that, we're not moving him. No way. Too valuable. Money, based on the production we're getting for the $3 million salary or whatever the hell he made in 2024, too good a guy to trade. We're not going to give him up now. And so they held on to him. And what happened? He went back to earth. So, and he didn't have a horrible year last year, but the point being, when his value was highest was the time to move him. They didn't do it. Now they're kind of stuck with him. So when they go to people and say, well, he had a great year in 2024, they say, well, yeah, that's the aberration. So I think they've added up, you just added up, and they've stockpiled these guys. They have too many to the point where Roman Anthony missed the first game of a series in St. Louis, as Jared said, after an off day. That's roster mismanagement. You have too much of one thing and not enough of another. So that one does fall on the chief executive. Now, the decision to have Anthony sit out, the opener, I have a hard time exempting Cora there. So you're coming off an off day. You're going into St. Louis. They're a bad team. You lose 3-2. F the plan. Play the kid. He should be out there every night. Every once in a while, you want to give him a day off. I get it, okay? It's 162. Nobody does that anymore. So maybe he only plays 154, 152, whatever. But not now. You're trying to dig your way out. So that decision, I do wonder whether it was rooted in a little bit of spite from Cora. And I guess what I'm saying is that that whole thing is at the core of a lot of their problems. That decision, their inability to solve that and balance out what their roster looked like is part of the problem.
Could part of it be that Craig Breslow isn't enough of a leader in that? So, the Red Sox, like most Major League Baseball teams, have a ton of nerds, right? So you could maybe make the case with 5 outfielders that these nerds each can make a case for some of these players. So there's maybe 2 nerds saying, well, Masataka Yoshida has a high walk rate and a hard hit ball rate. And Duran, he hasn't played that well yet because he's been sat too much. Is he listening to too many people and he's too weak-willed to make any kind of hard decision? I could see that happening.
Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, there's some of that for sure. I think also that when you want to run your team this way, which is to say that you want maximum efficiency, well, then you don't want to part with any young player because they're the most efficient players in the game. In terms of cost analysis, in terms of what you're getting for your investment, young players are the key to the whole thing. So you're not going to give away any of them because, if you're not getting what you deem to be fair return, why would you give up on a player making $800,000?
Well, right. They look at all these guys as so cost effective. And again, some of these geeks can probably make really good cases for them that they're like, well, let's just hang on to all of them then. We like our depth.
Well, they just want to win the value end of any individual trade.
Exactly, Mike.
Ignoring what the result is on the roster.
Exactly right.
Right?
They view every trade as an individual transaction.
And they're more worried about not losing that trade, which, okay, great. You didn't lose that trade, but now you're stuck with a roster that doesn't make sense. Congratulations.
Right, exactly. Instead of worrying about improving your team, you're not looking to have your team win. You're looking to win the trade.
So I think
it's ridiculous.
I think roster construction remains the number one issue on the team. Certainly not the only one, but I do start with Breslow. I start with the roster construction, and that's sort of central to it. 617-779-0985. Then there was a story today in the Boston Globe regarding one of these outfielders, Roman Anthony, and the position that he's been put in, Mazz. And boy, feels like there's been some goalposts moving here from the Red Sox or the Globe and Alex Spear, anyway, who wrote this story in the Globe. And the headline is, periodically, a reminder is necessary. Roman Anthony is 21 and in his major league infancy. I don't know if that was the headline or the lead, but that was what was written at the top of the story. Periodically, a reminder is necessary. Roman Anthony is 21 and in his major league infancy. As soon as you read that, you know what you say? Oh, he must be sucking. Because if he were off to a hot start, there's a very simple exercise, folks. I do it all the time, so you're used to it by now. But just flip it. Go on the other side of it. Put yourself in the other guy's shoes. Reverse the situation. And do it in this case. If he were off to a hot start, would we be getting a headline in the Globe that says, a reminder's necessary? He's only 21 and in his infancy. This could go the other way. Because that's the implication of this now that he's off to a slow start.
Yeah, of course.
So we only get this when you're off to a slow start. That it's early.
He must be sucking.
So all you have to do is read that line at the very top of the story to go, oh, well, if you had told me in March that I would be reading this April 16th, I would tell you, oh, he must be off to a slow start. They wouldn't be writing this if he were off to a hot start. You'd just be writing it and saying, see, we got the guy.
Totally right.
So, predictable, I guess. He's hitting .246, a slightly above average hitter in the context of this year's league-wide offense, he says. That's an above average hitter in this.
I guess.
Yeah. Yet there is a sense of more to come, writes Spear, fueled by Anthony's talent and ambition. Every time I see him, I just try to remind him how good he is. I think he forgets sometimes he's 21, said Jarren Duran, his teammate. He's got the weight of this organization, and they've put the weight of the world on him. I think he's doing a great job managing it. Do you agree with that sentiment?
No. No. Now, look, in the clubhouse, like when I say that being accountable.
Haven't I heard you say the team has put everything on him?
Yeah, no. I don't agree that he's doing a great job handling it.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't agree on that. So, yes, they've totally put it on his shoulders. And I would say, he's been good about saying, like, for example, when he was going through the thing where he made the bad throws and he said, bad baseball, I got to do better. He was accountable. I agree. He's trying. He should never be put in that spot. The mistake is putting him in that spot at all. And what I found interesting about this story is, first of all, Duran said it. Okay, Duran looks at it and says they put the weight of the world on this guy. To me, that's criticism of the organization, whether they want to admit it or not.
Of course it is.
So good for him for saying it. They've put the weight of the world on it. Absolutely right. Oh, I don't know. Could that be part of the reason why he's struggling the way he is? That they're asking him to do too much because he doesn't have enough people around him? Secondly, the comment from Xander Bogaerts got my wheels spinning because in the story, Alex Spear also got...
I have it right here.
Okay,
Alex Spear writes that to others, it's mind-blowing that Anthony is already the proverbial drink-stirring straw on the Red Sox as he navigates the learning process. Quote, he might be the face of the team right now, Xander Bogaerts observed on his recent visit to Fenway Park. Bogaerts noted how different Anthony's entry into the big leagues has been from his own when the infielder, meaning Bogaerts, resided in shadows cast by stars David Ortiz and Dustin Pedroia. Anthony, meanwhile, is already a frequent spokesperson for the state of the team.
It's also a shot at the organization. Bogaerts saying, because again, we don't have the exact quote, but Spear paraphrases, Bogaerts basically saying, they didn't do it like this when I was here. I came up and they had guys to protect me. They moved me to third base at the beginning, if you remember that, because Stephen Drew was the shortstop, and I was able to just hit at the bottom of the order and get my walks. Do you remember that when he was in the playoffs and we made a big deal out of Xander Bogaerts having good at-bats?
Yes.
At the bottom of the lineup getting walks.
Yeah.
That was a big deal at the time, but that's all they were asking from him. Just go up and have a good at-bat and play the position. This kid is being asked to be the MVP of the league. They've already put it on him. This, to me, is the single biggest problem with the team. What they've done to this kid. And in the and that doesn't even get into, they put no other pieces around him. The team is failing. He's feeling the pressure. This is the biggest freaking mess that they've made with a star player in a long time. They had better hope this kid doesn't get ruined by this. And the comment by Breslow, there's also a comment by Breslow in the story where Spear says to him, is talking about the fact that the environment around him is different than it was for Bogaerts. Spear asked the question, is that a comfortable development environment for a young player? Do the Sox believe they've provided the appropriate scaffolding for this stage of his development? Quote, I do, said Breslow. Really?
Uh-huh.
Either you're lying or
you're clueless.
Or that, or you're too embarrassed to admit that you effed it up. So, because I think they've effed it up. There's not enough around him. To the point where, again, Wilson Contreras comes in and is immediately the team leader and had to grab the team by the collar in St. Louis because what's Anthony going to do? He's still trying to figure out how to get to and from some of the ballparks on the road. Like he's trying, there's still some of that with these young players. They royally effed this part up. Royally.
Okay, thoughts on this? Open up some Red Sox thoughts on these items. Plus, we have coming up Carrabis on Alex Cora and if he's the right manager for this team, and the latest on the Jarren Duran incident in Minnesota, and your calls coming your way right after this.
Now, more of Felger and Mazz. Now, on the Sports Hub.
Is Alex Cora the right guy for this team?
Can I answer a question with a question? If not him, then who? I would ask that question. If not him, then who? Because I do think that he's great at communicating with the players. I do think that he knows the game really well. I think he's one of the best managers in the game. But I also will sit here and recognize, again, I'll cite what Theo Epstein said. Everyone in this game has a shelf life, and he's been here for 8 years now. I know he missed 2020, but I still think that I have the utmost confidence in his ability to do the job. I've never heard a player be like, yeah, like this isn't the right fit. So until you start hearing the murmurs about players being like, yeah, I'm out on this guy. Like that happened towards the end of the John Farrell tenure. Everyone was like, I remember we interviewed Eduardo Nunez in 2018, and he said, when I got traded over from the Giants, the Red Sox were in first place. And I walked into the clubhouse and I was like, we're in first place, right? Why does it feel like we're in last place? That type of culture starts with the manager. It was tense. It was awkward. I don't think that that's happening with this group. And then, again, if you want to talk about the lineup structure, then sure, we can go there. But as far as like a culture standpoint, is he burnt out? Does he want to be here? I don't see it that way, but I understand when there are certain complaints. Yes.
Whether Alex Cora should be the manager of the Red Sox or not, one of the reasons should not be, and it's my least favorite thing that I hear, if not him, then who? Well, who should it be? I know Carrabis didn't have that tone, but if you're generally just sticking up for the manager, that's kind of, I hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. The most notorious one for me just personally was Claude Julien, who I thought was overrated on his best day, and just I was not a huge fan of his coaching style. He seems like a really good guy. But I didn't like him as a coach. Well, then who should they get? I don't know. It's not my job. I'll take a look at the next guy and tell you whether he's good or not. But I don't know. Make the guy in Providence the coach. Whatever. That's their job to find the next guy. And then it's my job to tell you what I think when he gets there. And if I know the guy, yeah, sure, I'll tell you what I think. But there's a million candidates, a million people who can do these jobs. It's the team's. I say, yeah, so just give it to the guy in Providence. It was Bruce Cassidy. He was better. Well, who should they get? Well, then who? You tell me. Who should they get? I don't know. Identify the next guy that I've not heard of. That's your job. So don't give me that. If not him, who?
See, I think he's the wrong guy. I mean, I told Jared that. Look, to me, the manager's about the fit. What's your team look like? How do you want to play? And then I'll tell you who the manager should be. So is it a coincidence that last year they spent some money, they got a clubhouse leader, and all of a sudden the Cora managed better and they made the playoffs?
Yes. And I mean, it's not a coincidence. No.
Right. So Cora, they brought him here in 2018 because they had some veteran guys around some young players, but they needed to get the team over the hump, and they wanted a manager who could get the team over the hump, and he did. Now the makeup of the team has changed. They traded Mookie Betts. They traded Rafael Devers. Now they're developing players at the big leagues on the fly. That's not for Alex Cora. Now, if you think that makes Cora lesser of a manager, nope. I'll tell you, Pat Murphy's a better fit for this team than Alex Cora is. If they want to develop players in the big leagues rather than win games, Cora's the wrong guy.
Finally, here's one last thing before we go to the calls. You can weigh in on that as well. Headline in The Athletic, a Minnesota Twins probe has yet to corroborate unacceptable taunt towards Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran. A person briefed on the situation said on Wednesday that an investigation by the Minnesota Twins has yet to corroborate details about the incident. Quote, we were made aware of the situation late Tuesday and are looking into it, the Twins said in a statement early yesterday. There's no place in our game for conduct like that, end quote. The story goes on to say because Duran did not alert his teammates, coaches, or security personnel, a Twins official said the club was unaware of the alleged incident until after the game. A league source said multiple people seated in the area had been interviewed. One person with knowledge of the event said fans were bragging afterwards that Duran had raised his middle finger at them after they had mocked his swing. Though the announced crowd was 16,220, only about 10,000 fans were in attendance at Target Field.
And that feels high.
There weren't even 10,000 there. In spite of the subdued crowd noise, field and television microphones did not pick up fans yelling for Duran to harm himself or mocking his swing. Additional audio and video of the incident has yet to surface on social media or in the public sphere. After Wednesday's 9-5 series-ending victory, the Red Sox declined comment on the Twins' investigation, though the team reiterated its support for Duran. So, like I said, I hope they find the guy or the woman that did it. I hope he didn't make it up. And, yeah. So that's just the latest on there in Minnesota. I hope they find it. And, I'm going to honestly just defer to him. And is there something new, Stu? You're hovering?
I would think that Duran would help in the investigation. He would be able to line sight and figure it out and help this investigation. It pauses for concern of what's actually going on here. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Or a description of the person, or maybe put that out there.
Listen, just to be fair, I'm gonna accept him at his word. And also because I hate fans that heckle. Even if a fan was heckling him about his swing, it's like, shut up. You know, like you're allowed to do it. And I just have a very low bar for
low tolerance.
Low tolerance for fan behavior, chirping players on the field of the court. Shut up.
Me too.
Even if it's innocuous or clever or the thing that Duran flipped out over and hurled a homophobic slur at the guy at Fenway Park was, you need a tennis racket, which is really sort of innocuous, but I would still say shut up. A cheer or boo or whatever, but like just shut up. So I'm almost always gonna side with the player, and I still will on this one. He's lost it for taunts that weren't offensive. And the earliest word is that the fans were just sort of mocking his swing. I would hate it if he used that as a card because it's too important. And he's been too important and leading the way in the conversation in what he's done. And the issue is too important for him to just sort of use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card. So I would hate if that were the case. And that's my thought on Duran. All right, those are our Red Sox thoughts. What are yours? Right to your calls. How about Dan in Boston? Go ahead, Dan.
So I just want to say that overall, I think why we're dealing with these roster constructions the way they are is I just think that the pendulum has swung too far in the opposite direction since Breslow came in 23. It's well documented that in 25, I believe, there was the firing a lot of scouts going into the 25 season, Sportsology group from New York City. Everybody knows that story. And what does that yield you? That yields you the opportunity to baseline, hey, we need to win this deal, we need to win this trade, not make this team better. You're taking away the opportunity for baseball people to evaluate baseball players.
Right, or how about just the big picture thing where the owner or someone on top of this cabal of nerds says, all right, I guess we lose that trade, but are we a better team?
Exactly.
Because the guy above the cabal of nerds just cares about winning.
Right.
So was he a 7 WAR or a 9 WAR? I actually don't care about that, Craig. I care, are we better? And is this going to help us win? So 7 or 9 WAR is I'm worried about, but because those upper levels, I think, don't care at that level. We're left to the devices of these analysts trying to win a 7 WAR versus a 9 WAR trade.
You got it.
Right?
You got it.
Thank you.
There isn't anybody there looking at the bigger picture and saying, we have left-handed hitters coming out our ass. Okay, we've got them coming out of every orifice in our body. Can we go get a freaking right-handed hitter? Can we do that? If we have to trade 2 for 1 and lose the trade, it's okay. We have them growing on appendages of our bodies.
Tom and Quincy, your thoughts?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, the funny thing about this whole roster construction topic, this isn't new. We've been talking about this for years, okay? And the issue is that people confuse with having a surplus of bodies as depth. That is not depth. Depth is when you actually have good players that you can put in to substitute other good players. You don't have that. You have a plethora of mediocre, at best talent, all stacked up on the left effing side of the plate. You could have moved Duran after 24, which they should have. In this war stuff, I don't care. Give away a 9 WAR. Get someone that can actually fit into the effing lineup and put them on the field where they need it.
Do they have depth or they just have bodies?
So, look, I would argue they have a little bit of depth. Okay, they really do. I mean, Abreu's a good player. Raphael is okay if he's hitting 8th or 9th. There's nothing wrong with him. Yoshida's overpaid, but if he's whatever, they're not. In other words, these aren't 4A players, except maybe for Durbin. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, these guys are big league players. But you need centerpiece guys, okay? You don't have those. And now you've thrust Anthony in a role where you're asking him to be one, and he doesn't even have a year in the big leagues yet. You're putting him in a tough spot. But the thing about the Mike, if you really look at it, they've had left-handed hitters coming up through their system now for a good 5 or 6 years. And the only guy they've traded is Teal. That's it. Because they needed Garrett Crochet after they wouldn't pay for Max Fried. So, so they finally gave one up. And they might have effed that up, too, by the way. I think they've done a horrible job of evaluating their own players, not understanding who's good and who isn't, who we can trade and who we can't. They've held on to the whole lot of them and have had chances to trade everyone. Going all the way back to Bobby Dahlbeck, who was right-handed. But, they had a chance to move him after the second half of 2021. But they remember the crap that was coming out about him? Some in the organization view him as a 40 home run hitter. Can't trade him. He's too good. And now none of them are playing up to their potential. So they've been left holding the bag on all these guys. Anthony's different. I think we all agree he's different. They should wait that out. With him, they've done the opposite. They've put him in a position that is virtually impossible for him to burden.
Okay, more thoughts on the Red Sox with your phones at 617-779-0985 and the latest developing opinions on Vrabel, Russini, all coming your way right after Murray's update. We'll back to the phones for the 5 o'clock hour, Mazz, unless you have a fresh thought for us.
God, no.
Felger and Mazz, 98.5 Sports Hub.
Travion Henderson, in case you don't recall, quoted scripture, the Bible, in defense of Jaden Ivey, saying basically that the righteous and are attacked by evil for their righteousness. And that lit up Mike Vrabel. How can, you have to represent the brand. You have to be inclusive. You have to be educated. Except that 2 days earlier, Mike Vrabel was sitting by the pool with Dianna Russini.
Exactly.
And on the roof of a private bungalow in Sedona, holding hands with her and hugging her, and sitting by a pool and in a hot tub. And how does that represent the brand? How does that represent the organization? And since then, he released a statement to Page 6 and hasn't discussed it again, leaving the opportunity for his first media appearance scheduled on draft night. That's going to be rough if somebody steps up and go, Mike, dude, what happened in the middle of the New England Patriots just picked with the 31st overall selection X? We don't care about that. We got to ask you about this.
Armando Salguero on, what was the podcast, Stu, so I can give it the proper affiliation? If you said it, I'd know it immediately. Good grief. We'll get it for you. Anyway, a longtime NFL reporter, mostly based out of Miami, Armando Salguero, with some pretty cogent points right there. So whatever moral high ground Vrabel was trying to carve out with his team, he loses some with some of his players, that's for sure. But really, I think the next item on the table, Mazz, is how does he address it? Mm-hmm. When does he address it? And again, the draft is a week from tonight. He's slated as usual to hit that podium or the Zoom after the Patriots make their pick. So it's going to be whatever, midnight, however late that is. And if the Boston media has anything left in the tank, someone is going to go there. Does he want that to be that night, or would he rather do it on his terms?
I'm willing to bet he'll take his chances.
Yeah?
Because I'm not sure anyone will ask him that night.
Mazz, it's gotten so bad around here, maybe no one will.
Yeah. And again, they're all going to be scrambling on, wanting to get the information out quickly. They're going to ask him about the draft pick, and there'll be hype around the draft pick no matter where it is.
Don't you think the team is also going to say to the reporters a day before, it's only about the draft, guys. We can't stress this enough.
It doesn't mean the reporters don't work for the team. The team can say this is what we're going to do, and you don't need to ask, and then that's up to you. Still ask it.
Yeah, no, I know, but
in today's climate, Murray, you're right. Yeah. Exactly.
You say the reporters don't work for the team. I mean,
no.
This is me doing the old J.O. move under the table here.
It's gotten bad.
Yeah, it has. It's gotten bad is right.
It's not just the reporters, as I keep saying. It's the outlets, the media outlets. If they want to protect their beat guy, you send someone else. And that someone else takes the fall who doesn't have to deal with the team.
Yep.
That's a very, very simple formula. So I'm dubious of the outlets Is NBC Sports Boston going to make sure? NBC Boston, which has a news channel, has cable news, network news, Telemundo, whatever. Okay, big news gathering or operator. Are they going to make sure that someone is there to ask those questions? Phil Perry doesn't have to do it. But are we going to cover that story? Yeah. I'm not sure we are.
No, they should assign a news reporter. I mean, again, the beat people won't do it.
But so that's a whole side thing. We've been spent a lot of time on the media angle. It's Vrabel. Does he want to answer the question or just put the next thing out there on his terms or the media's terms? And that's the next thing. That's the next shoe to drop. Jake in Boston calls us today for some reason. Go ahead, Jake.
What's up, boys? Shout out to you both and to the incel Redditors who want the story to go away. So we got the closest thing to a comment.
The what?
Our incel Reddit audience.
I don't know what that means, incel.
Me neither.
See, he's already bugged me. What does that mean, incel?
Incel means has no shot at doing what Mike and Dianna allegedly can do because they're basement shut-ins. We got the closest thing to a comment out of Mike Vrabel this morning, and it was gutless and remorseless. This came in a tweet. Mind you, McAfee, none of the national guys are touching this, but Will Compton, who is essentially Mike Vrabel's unofficial child, who is in a group text where they call each other daddy, quote tweeted a front office sports story about this and said in his biggest bro voice possible, love how the caption of the story is written like she's a free agent fresh off a Pro Bowl season, which means that his group and his boys, nor Russini's group, are showing any remorse for what they did. Meanwhile, Mike Vrabel's wife has deleted her Instagram account, which tells you that this may have hit sensitively with her if she wiped her Instagram account clean of photos of her family, and her husband.
Okay, the first thing you said, who quote tweeted it? Will Compton?
Will Compton. You know who Will Compton?
I do. Okay, we're going to look that up. I just wanted to. Will Compton. We have to look this up.
The most online human being maybe on planet Earth is that dude.
Will Compton?
No, Jake in Boston.
Oh yeah,
it's just my God.
Okay, so we'll look at what Will Compton quote tweeted with Dianna Russini, because I think Will Compton does probably give you insight into Vrabel's thinking. I think that's fair. And Jen Vrabel deleted her Instagram account. That's fair too. But that tells you something. It usually does.
Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, in this day and age, it means someone doesn't want to be seen.
Well, so what I was going to ask is, Instagram isn't even the one where you get like all the vile comments, right?
No, that's more Twitter or X.
Well, you can leave vile comments on Instagram.
Yeah, you
can.
You can, but wouldn't you say it's less common?
It's not as bad as Twitter.
Twitter's the worst.
But it's not
as long as someone can leave comments, they can write whatever the hell they want on whatever platform we're talking about.
I'm just trying to piece together why could she eliminate her Instagram account just to I don't want to hear it?
Yeah,
perhaps. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, totally.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, this is other people's sides of the street, but it's all fair to read into it. I mean,
sure.
Like everything gets forecasted now by who you follow, who you unfollow, when you wipe your thing or don't wipe your thing, whatever. All this stuff foretells trades and signings and breakups and all of it. So it's all fair. I just don't know I'm sorry. You got to just fill in the gaps for me. And we'll do it. We'll continue to do it. But we have another matter at hand right now. It's that time of the week. Based on this,
Mazz is tears.
What's the topic?
Inglorious, what's the word? Exits.
So based on Russini's resignation.
Yeah.
Inglorious sports exits.
Yeah, in Boston.
Oh, Boston.
Well, no. You know what? I should rephrase it because we did a lot of jostling with this one. It's more off-field scandals.
Okay. Well, listen. You'll have to see or listen up to hear exactly where Mazz is going with this.
Confusing tears.
Yeah, it is already. My head's already between you and Jake. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Incel tears.
Long commercial. Yeah, what was that? Long commercial segment is next.
Felger and Mazz continue on the Sports Hub.
Bernardi Auto, they've got Audis, Hondas, and Toyotas. Yeah. They are the ones who sponsor who Mazz thinks is a fraud and who's for real.
Those are the tears of a clown.
Mazz's Tears.
The second tier.
Hold on, let me get my pen. Mazz's Tears.
Dallas. Buffalo. Tennessee.
Mazz's Tears.
Third tier.
Okay, here we go. Hold on, let me get my pen. Mazz's Tears. 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 And once again, Mazz's Tears is brought to you by the Bernardi Automotive Group, which always finishes top of the top tier with Mazz, because they sell and service just about every brand of vehicle that you could come across, including Volvo, Acura, Audi, Honda, Toyota. Bernardi for now, Bernardi for life. Find them now at BernardiAutoGroup.com. Mazz, what do we got this week?
Okay, so we went with Boston scandals involving sports personalities. I don't want to say athletes because in some cases, obviously, this was inspired by the recent tryst involving Mike Vrabel and Dianna Russini, which is on the list. We'll get to that momentarily. But I just want to emphasize, these are off-field incidents. So, like, just to give you an easy example, two teammates who might get in a fight at the batting cage, no go.
Okay, that's on the field.
It's on the field.
Okay, because that's on the field. So we're not looking for, a Parcells versus Kraft. We're not looking for Lucchino versus Theo.
Yep.
We're looking for stuff like real-world incidents that involved, Boston athletes, Boston coaches, what have you. So we'll start with Tier 3. Mo Vaughn flipping over his car on I-95. We talked about this briefly last week. He was on his way home from the Foxy Lady, failed a sobriety test. But I think that he still got off because he had a knee injury, and that was his excuse for failing the sobriety test. You remember this one not too long ago?
He was wobbly because he had a wobbly knee? Was that the deal?
He had knee surgery, yeah, and then told his argument at the time was that his knee was not fully healthy. That's why I think that's how he got off.
All right.
In all seriousness.
I'll remember, see if that works for me.
Jack Jones, the Patriots, tried to get a gun through security at the airport.
That's always smart.
You remember that one?
Of course.
Yeah. Wasn't it multiple and extended magazines?
Actually, I believe that is correct, Murray. The best part of that story is that it introduced us to a new person on the Boston landscape.
Oh.
That doesn't make him a thug. That doesn't make him a wannabe criminal in this case. It doesn't make him a wannabe gang member. It makes him an individual charged with a crime.
We're not saying
and the
that.
Commonwealth is, well, you were. Everybody was on social media. So we're suggesting you do your research before you start writing like that.
I love it. Rosemary Scaramucci.
Scapiccio. But you were acting like losers. And you were accusing him of being a thug and a bad guy.
She was the best.
You shouldn't write like that.
The greatest.
We're suggesting you do your research before you start writing like that.
I'll tell you, she does an amazing job. He got 1 year of probation and 48 hours of community service for that. If that happened to me, I would be in.
Well, not if you get her.
Yeah, but
you know who to call.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, no, she said she got to keep her number on Rolodex.
He's presumed innocent unless and until he's proven guilty by a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. This is an accusation, plain and simple. That's all it is.
And you're all losers.
She was the best. Great. Speed dial is what I meant to say. Larry Bird's fight in Chelsea's during the playoffs way back when, allegedly broke his hand or a finger. Had trouble shooting in the series the rest of the way. The Drew Bledsoe, Max Lane,
Sorry, Zoe.
stage diving incident. Everyone remembers that one. I think there was a woman injured in that who had needed treatment on her shoulder, neck.
For an
back.
Everclear concert.
Yeah.
Who gets that jazzed up for an Everclear? Well, then again, yeah. Zoe does like to have a time.
Ty Law crossing the border, getting busted with ecstasy.
Yes.
Remember that one?
My cousin's bag. Yeah.
Right, he blamed it on his cousin. He probably had Rosemary Scapiccio as his defense attorney, too. And Butch Hobson, while he was the manager at Pawtucket, got busted for possession of cocaine as the manager of the AAA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. So that one, those are the Tier 3 ones. Okay, now we'll.
It was like after he got fired here, though, right?
Yeah, that would have been afterwards. Yes, I take it back. He wasn't the manager of Pawtucket at the time. I think he was living down there.
Yeah, something.
So yes, so that one's sort of gray area. Good point by you.
Thank you.
Tier 2. Again, we reserved Tier 2.
Could you tell he had a problem?
Not.
I did, because I didn't cover the Red Sox, but for some reason. So this is like an example of the way we used to do it at the paper. He was on thin ice.
Yeah.
Okay, and he was, just getting hammered, meaning hammered by the media and the fans, and just, you must have been off or something. And the Herald sent me down to interview him at a charity event. I want to say it was in Southie. that he was doing some sort of hitting clinic or some sort of charity event at this field in Southie. And like, go get him and go talk to him about how he's dealing with the pressure. I'm like, what? And I guess this was kind of the thing. It's like the baseball guys were off, or we won't subject the baseball guys to it. You go do it. And I went and interviewed him, and I remember walking away and saying, something is not right with that dude. What is wrong with? He was so freaking jittery and jumpy. And then that story came out. I'm like, oh, I get it. I totally get it.
So I don't know where I was, but I didn't. My first full year on the beat was 95. So if it was in the early 90s while he was still the manager.
I don't remember. I just clearly remember walking away, trying to talk to him at this charity thing, being like, what's up with that dude? That doesn't feel right. Anyway, go ahead.
Good observation by you.
Story time.
Okay, so let's go to Tier 2, shall we? Tier 2. This last week, I think this was the coaches' tier, and it remains there. Vrabel and Russini. This thing's turned into a big deal. It's not Tier 1, but it's a big deal. Ime Udoka and his ultimate dismissal.
That's Tier 2?
It is Tier 2 again. It was a team.
I can't wait for Tier 1. Go ahead.
Wilfredo Cordero's arrest for a domestic incident.
Dirtbag.
With his then partner. I don't know if it was his wife or his girlfriend, but I think he was alleged to have hit her with a phone. The Red Sox ended up releasing him at the end of that season. Terry Francona's exit from the Red Sox.
Wow.
Bob Hohler's story.
Tier 2?
Talking about, problems with drugs and medication, as well as, personal problems, including his divorce. And John Farrell's relationship with Jess Moran of NBC Sports Boston. Again, she was one of the reporters covering the team at the time. That turned into quite a scandal as well. So
Tier 2.
Those are Tier 2. Okay. Tier 1, again, now, so we're talking about, some of these were, they're self-explanatory. I mean, when you consider what Tier 1 involves, you won't be surprised. Well, the most obvious one is Aaron Hernandez being convicted of murder and imprisoned as a member of the Patriots. David Ortiz shot in the Dominican Republic. It was a case that got a lot of attention. Wade Boggs' affair with Margot Adams. There's a reason why that's on Tier 1. That became a national story and sort of a...
If people aren't old enough to remember, it dominated.
It was everywhere.
It was awesome.
I remember my dad and his buddies used to say, don't trade Wade for getting laid. There was like a whole saying and everything.
Yeah, and it was one of the first real national stories that came out in the open about an athlete and a mistress on the road and all. What was
the year? Was it 88?
That sounds right.
Right around that time. Yeah, very good, Mike. And Paul Pierce's stabbing. He got stabbed 11 times. I was reading some of that today.
Whoa.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was that many either until I went back and read some of that stuff. And so, look, these are real life. I'm not telling you that, in some cases, like the Pierce case, unclear exactly, what the motive was. Apparently, according to stories at the time, he was talking to someone's sister. And, whatever the implication was. And, anyway, those are the ones that made news. Big news in Boston for a long time.
Just two things. So, yeah, it was 88 that story broke with Wade Boggs and Margot Adams.
Yep.
And I would argue that David Ortiz shooting in the Dominican is maybe the most underreported story in the last 20 years in this city. He was shot. No big deal. We're just moving on.
Just random.
Was it drug dealers? Was it someone that you were involved with? Did you owe money to someone? Nothing to see here.
They're the biggest icons in the history of Boston sports.
Correct. He's baseball Santa Claus.
Gunned down and murdered on the streets in Santo Domingo, it was, right?
It was a hit.
Yeah, and it's like, I guess he just caught a stray. Nothing to see here.
It was a hit. And, I don't need to tell you guys, all kinds of rumors, speculation, some of which made it into the public realm, some of which did not. So, but those are, again, not related to the game on the field.
Boston sports scandals, omissions, mistakes. I know you're always there to help us out with that. We'll get your reaction to that. Continue with your Red Sox thoughts and Vrabel Russini thoughts. Your calls in 90 seconds. Just an update here first from Big Jim, and then we're right back.